Oh my goodness, we are live. All right, so we're live, everybody. Welcome to our book study group. It's Monday, the 22nd of August. John Lavenia is here with you. Let me make sure we're not polluting our sound with extraneous sounds. No, we're good. Okay, good. So, How to Stop Worrying and Start Living, Dale Carnegie, parts 7 and 8. We are concluding this book next week with the final parts of 9 and 10. Part 10, by the way, is all anecdotes and I guess case studies and stuff. So if you haven't been through it yet, but parts 7 and 8 we're covering tonight. And those parts are, I want to go ahead and share my screen. Let's do that. Woo! Part 7, 6 ways to prevent fatigue and worry and keep your energy and spirits high. I know some of you have high energy and spirits. Bob, are there two of you? Is Missy lurking in the weeds? Is that who the other Bob is? I see two Bobs here. We got to mute that one. Okay, great. So we have two computers talking to each other in the same room. We don't want that. So yeah, if you kill the sound on one and do sound on the other, you'll be good. Anyway, it's good to be here with everybody. 6 ways to prevent fatigue. Did I share my screen? Are you guys seeing my stuff? Yes? Okay, great. To prevent fatigue and worry and keep your energy and spirits high. There's 6 chapters within this section. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. There you go. So let's start with this one. Chapter 23, how to add 1 hour a day to your waking life. I think we can go pretty quick through these chapters because they're all kind of like popcorn. I enjoyed that. I like when he doesn't belabor it with 10 million different stories, but good book nonetheless. This kind of caught me. Fatigue often produces worry, or at least it makes you susceptible to worry. Has anybody noticed that if you're not well rested or well fed, that's another one, right? So it could be digestive fatigue, hunger, right? That you are susceptible to emotional distraught, right? Have anybody else noticed that? I've been in meetings where people were cranky, or as I would say to my daughter, cranky pants. All right, we gotta stop and eat. That's it, right? Or did you get sleep last night? Right. So that sort of a thing. If somebody's just susceptible, right, to worry, anxiety, stuff like that. So there's a certain amount of a foundation physiologically that somebody I think should have. I can tell you for myself, I should have. Like right now, just before I got on here, I just ate after not eating like all friggin' day. But I noticed that I was getting frantic with some of the stuff that I've been studying. Hold on, is this screen share thing? For some reason, it doesn't look like it's working for me. Let me try it again. Okay, I guess it's working. So, so I noticed that that with all the stuff that I've been studying, I was getting kind of, my wires crossed. So it's like, oh, John, you haven't eaten, and that's what happens for me. I don't know about you guys. Some people say they're stress eaters. I'm a stress starver. Not that I'm experiencing tremendous stress, okay, but I could find that I become less and less effective with my time as I either get tired or get hungry. So food for thought. So how to add 1 hour a day to your waking life. One of the points that he makes here in this chapter is that when we have proper rest, that we can actually get more done. He gave some examples, if you read the chapter for yourself, some examples of people who rested before they were tired and were able to accomplish exponentially more work. We're talking about physical work, right? So this isn't arbitrary, like, oh, well, they're just happy-go-lucky. No, we're talking about how much weight can you carry throughout your workday, carrying iron ore and everything else, right? Back in the mining days, right? And so they put in a different protocol and they got way increased production out of the same people, and they were less tired because they had them rest intermittently. So Edison attributed his enormous energy and endurance to this habit of sleeping whenever he wanted to. So here's a guy, so it's said that he would sleep in his lab with a metal pan on his lap I wasn't there, so I don't recall, but he was asleep with a metal pan on his lap. And when the pan hit the floor, made a noise, that means he had enough rest and he was going to get up and work again. Henry Ford, shortly before his 80th birthday, the first time I read this, is at his 18th birthday? No, his 80th birthday. Surprised to see how fresh and fine he looked. I asked him the secret. He said, I never stand up when I can sit down. I never sit down when I can lie down. So the idea here is to commingle leisure or leisureliness with your work action. So the idea is rest before you get tired, and you will add 1 hour a day to your waking life. Now, here's the thing. I've also heard, stand up, put your boots on, right? No more, sitting at the desk with your feet up. Guys, I could show you right now. This is where I've spent much of my day, right there on that leather couch with added pillow. Since I was reading about this stuff, I thought I'd add a pillow, right? So, just, for some lumbar support. The Italian leather looks nice. I think the couch needs to be refluffed or something, new foam. But anyway, it's not terribly supportive. So I got a little lumbar support there. It's like a $2,000 couch. I got it for $150, but Facebook Marketplace, pretty good. Anyway, my wife is texting me. Let me cancel all that because I'm on a session. And of course, she texts me while I'm on a session. I should do that. Okay, good. So what do you guys think? Is it all the way on and all the way off, or can you commingle the two? Who's got some thoughts on this? I'd love to hear about it. So I was sitting there on that couch, feet up, lumbar support, and doing my studies today. Hey, Robert.
Hello. Well, I'm just going to add some anecdotes that I've heard over the years. John Wayne, for example, I heard that when he came home from a day's shooting, his wife would remind him of some social engagement that they had. And obviously, she controlled the social calendar. So he said, okay, just let me stretch out for 10 minutes. And he was able to take a power nap, as it were. Bob Hope could do the same thing. And it's almost a gift for some people that they can sort of crash at will and wake up completely refreshed. Your story about Edison, I heard a variant of this, is that the reason he slept with the metal pan on his lap, he actually would hold metal balls in his hand. He would drift off to sleep and reach a certain point of relaxation. The balls would drop out of his hand onto the metal pan. But he did this because he got some of his greatest inspirations while he was asleep. And so he wanted to recall them as quickly as possible. Do you ever notice that when you sleep, if you are able to get into a dream state, the dream is very vivid once you wake up from it, but then as time passes, you forget it.
Mm-hmm.
And that was the reason why Edison slept with the metal pan. I understand he had metal balls as well, so that if he did get an inspiration, it would be fresh. He could get right to it and get working on it without forgetting it. But the critical thing is, I think you have to have the physiological disposition to be able to do this. Not everybody does have it, unfortunately. It makes sense. It makes sense for the people who can do it. But for the people who can't, it's really a matter then of, trying to balance things. Sleep when you do sleep, make sure it's quality sleep when you do.
Right. Well, in a later chapter, didn't he say, how a lot of people need less sleep, although some need more, even, like I think you mentioned Calvin Coolidge slept like 11 hours a day, which I think is excessive, but that's just my opinion. He held the highest office in the land, right? So legitimately, I think. Anyway, yeah, we've got a variety of approaches to that. So I also like the idea of stand up, shoot your video, right? Do the thing, walk around, right? I know I have a friend who, and Daisy and Lindsay, you both know this guy, Christian. He paces whenever he's talking on the phone. He's got his headset on and he just doesn't stop walking. That might also be part of his weight loss scheme, which he's on now. But he's been doing that longer than he's had his attention on his waistline. But anyway, food for thought. Commingle rest with activity and be refreshed. Bob and everyone, I've experienced this myself. Just was it yesterday? I did some physical labor, right? It was Sunday. I'm out there, sun or whatever. Or was it Saturday? I decided that I was going to go out, and it was Saturday. I'm going to go out and pull weeds and do some lawn work, right? As a homeowner, I get to do this stuff. Lindsay, you know, this is therapeutic, right? And I decided, you know what? I'm going to get some sun, get some vitamin D. I'm going to do it with no shirt today. Usually I got a shirt. A lot of times I'll wear long sleeves because, you know, protect the arms. I don't want my forearms to get all sunburned. Although, you know, I'm Italian and I'm pretty good with the sun. There's no big deal. So I went out there with no shirt. Saturday happened to be the hottest day of the year with full sun. So I'm out there in 97 degrees, full humidity, roasted like a lobster, came in, half-hour nap on that same couch, ready to rock. Went on with the rest of my day. Moving on, next chapter. We got popcorn chapters here. What makes you tired and what you can do about it. So the premise of this chapter is that boredom and resentment can wear on you more than like, you know, physical, you know, labor. So it showed here that fatigue toxins, sure, you've got lactic acid, you've got, you know, physical fatigue toxins in the bloodstream, the body requires recovery, but no such fatigue toxins occur, supposedly, from the mental disarray. All right, so what kinds of emotional factors tire the sedentary, which is a lot of people, worker? Joy, contentment? No, never. Boredom, resentment, a feeling of not being appreciated. We could call that invalidation. A feeling of futility. Hurry, anxiety, worry. These are the emotional factors that exhaust a sitting worker, make him susceptible to colds, reduce his output, send him home with a nervous headache. These are psychosomatic, we could say, but quite real. Okay. Yes, we get tired because our emotions produce nervous tensions in the body. So just like the physical tension of, you know, digging the ditch or lifting the weight, right? We can have emotional tensions, nervous tensions. And isn't it the case, and I know there's been lots of studies on this kind of stuff, where people experience muscle tension just based on their mindset. Like we could measure different physiological demonstrations of you know, their emotional state. Okay, so this is real, guys. So learn to relax while you're doing your work mentally, right? We already talked about physical. Easy? No, you'll probably have to reverse the habits of a lifetime. Worth the effort? Well, it might revolutionize your life. So he's talking here about creating a new habit. It's going to be a deliberate effort, okay? But you got to learn to relax. And a lot of people, they're just so friggin' intense. I used to be that way, okay? One of the things that he talks about, also, I think it was in this chapter, is you know, commingling prayer and you know, faith with your work, right? So, you know, the Lord's your shepherd. So like, chill, man, relax. Okay. So the reason that the eyes, and this is what he was talking about with whatever muscles are being tense, you know, or people have, you know, eye fatigue, right? The reason that the eyes are so important in relieving nervous tension is that they burn up 1/4 of all the nervous energies consumed by the body. Why so many people, perfectly sound vision, suffer from eye strain. Now, I wonder if that's augmented in the age of computers. Here we are. This is 1948. This book was written. There was no computers, right? I wonder if, you know, fluorescent lighting, or I think we're all on LEDs now. Hopefully we are. Okay. But if that also has something to do with it, right? I will tell you that getting into certain kinds of social media, like TikTok, is probably the worst offender of this. But Just the amount of, flashing lights and colors and super short attention spans and this, that. I find it maddening personally. Okay. I do a 1-minute video and I think it's like an epic, friggin' filibuster or something. There's people on there for like 5 seconds. So, okay, different market, I suppose. But eye fatigue, that's a thing. And then he gives us some tips here on how to deal with the mental and emotional aspects of this. So he talks about reading books on nervous tension, relax in odd moments. Again, commingling activity with rest. Work as much as possible in a comfortable position. I was doing that. Check yourself 4 or 5 times a day. Am I making my work harder than it actually is? Right. So taking inventory, doing a little relaxation exercise, be conscious of your breathing, that sort of thing. And then, test yourself again at the end of the day. Just how tired am I? Here I am, guys. It's 18 minutes past 9 p.m. Eastern US time. I got lots of energy. And one of the reasons is that I don't find this to be a futile action. This is not boring for me. Studying, great writings and seeing how I can use these in my life. Yeah, sign me up for that. It's awesome. Any thoughts? Any thoughts on that?
Well, once again, I'm going to ask, where's Stewart now that we really need him?
Stewart's selling solar power. Yeah.
I'm sure that he would affirm or approve the notion of because there is an energy center which is located behind the eyes. That's one of the highest energy centers that we can engage, and therefore giving play to that to do what it wants rather than forcing it to do something that it really taxes it can only benefit us on so many different levels.
Mm-hmm.
And honestly, I would be very interested to hear his take on that. Because that resonated with me when he spoke about that. I found myself nodding in agreement. Also, what you were mentioning about the media that we have nowadays is very true, and I think that a book study group such as this is very beneficial because it really forces us to slow down. Up until the time that I joined the group, which is about a year ago, I hadn't read a book, honestly. I mean, all the information I got was from doing web searches and such like. And I found myself really unable to focus for any long period of time, which a book requires you to do. Now, the good thing about this, if there is a good thing about this, is it's made me very weary about people who will not come to the point. I find myself shutting down web pages, that want to sell me something, and all they're doing is copywriting, one thing after another, and then the interminable upsell. So I've come to appreciate better, people who have a more direct approach. Just tell me what you want to tell me. Tell me why it's good for me, and let me make up my own mind. I wish we could get back to that. I wish we could really get back to that. I think that would help us all an awful lot too, because, if you're forced to listen, that's an energy sapper too.
Oh, yeah, that's coming up in a later chapter. Yeah. Like the guys who were doing the mountain climbing. Yeah. Good stuff. Thank you, Bob. Anybody else on this? It's just me and Bob tonight. Oh, wait, here comes Daisy Fatgar.
I was just going to say on the eyes part, it's ever since I've had to work from home now for the past 2 years. And at least the very first year, with the whole COVID and working for an organization that had to communicate COVID day in and day out. It was so stressful. It was an update, having to worry about it every day, changing the next day, changing the next day. And it was so stressful that, and I found myself just all day, literally almost 8 hours, just staring at my screen. And I had a laptop, I had a larger screen. And I really, I had to just kind of step back, and I said, oh my gosh. And my eyes, I could feel my eyes, my vision almost kind of go blurry a little. I mean, I had to resort to buying those blue light blockers.
Ah,
Yeah. So they don't have any prescription or anything. It just blocks the light. And
right.
that just helped me tremendously. And then it's so funny. My manager, I was telling, we would have these one-on-one meetings, and I'd tell him what are the projects that I'm working on and what's the status on them. And then he just goes, Daisy, you just have to, you're not going to be able to control everything. You're just going to have to just don't worry about it. And I go, okay. He goes, you can only do what you can do. So don't put it on yourself, because he knows, I mean, obviously, don't put it on yourself to think that you can, make something go faster when it really isn't even in your power to do.
Mhm.
Right. Leave it up to the writer, leave it up to designer. You can't hurry them up more than they already know. I mean, they already know that it's something that's a rush or whatever. So, just, relax. And so that was as little as crazy it sounds, like, okay, so it's now it's just, it's just really now a lot easier for me just to say, oh, well, oh, well, I can't control it. Let it go, let it go, let it go. So it's just like what he was saying, let go, let go, let go, and kind of chant that to yourself, and then, move on.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess it's like a tendency to like micromanage or
Mhm.
yeah, that could be pretty frustrating.
Yes.
Hmm. I'll bring up my daughter again. She's now 11, almost 12, but she has had a pattern throughout her life of, getting with other kids and parties and social this and that, and learning to negotiate with other kids. She tends to be a control freak. And as a less mature person, right, she would, get cranky about that. They won't play the way I want them to play. Right. And she likes to change the rules mid-game and stuff like that. I'm like, hey, you let people, grant them their beingness, do have fun. What's the big friggin' deal? So, but, to see it dramatized like that. And now, all right, how do I may not dramatize it like she does. Oh, they want to follow my rules. But where did she get that? I have no idea. Thank you, Daisy. Hey, Lindsay.
Hey, I just had a quick thought on that with the blue lights and all. Like, I do have my phone set to where at a certain time, I don't know what it does, but it's a softer light on it. I don't know what that. I
Right.
don't remember what setting that was, but it does make a difference in your eyes.
Night shift.
Night shift. That is, and it does look. It is softer than the bright blue. I don't know. I was just thinking about that, and I'm. You're talking about Christian, how he paces, and I do the same thing. That's why usually my camera's off, because I just have a lot of energy. What can I say? But when you do fixate on a problem, you'll notice that your TMJ, your whole face will be tense. But it's a little trick. I know if you do that, you'll notice your tongue's at the top of your mouth. If you can relax it and let your tongue go back down where it's supposed to go, your whole face will relax.
Oh,
I don't know.
Good stuff. Good tip. Thank you, Lindsay. Relax the tongue. Now we know. Yeah. And of course, the eyes, the jaw, right? Relax the
When you
jaw.
do that, your jaw, everything else follows.
Nice. Yeah. So blue blockers, huh? Getting rid of that spectrum of like ultraviolet, getting rid of the ultraviolet, getting into a warmer light, right? Like these LEDs, I got light arrays here to illuminate me as the subject of the video, right? And so I can choose different color temperatures, right? Really high, like approaching blue, or really low, like yellowy, right? So I like a nice neutral light. But yeah, I can imagine people in places where it's like daylight brightness or daylight color all the time. It can definitely be taxing. All right, guys. Well, let's move into chapter 25. Can you believe we're getting through this book? It was good stuff. Now, this one, how to avoid fatigue and keep looking young. We have a bunch of disturbed housewives, apparently. And so one woman's hands were so crippled with arthritis, quote, that she had lost all use of them. Another was in agony with all the excruciating symptoms of cancer of the stomach, quote. Others had backaches, headaches, chronically tired, vague aches and pains. They actually felt these pains. So this is a real demonstration of symptoms, okay, based on what? All right, so this guy, Dr. Rose, talked about that she thought one of the best remedies for lightening worry is talking your troubles over with someone you trust. We call it catharsis. So talk therapy or, counseling with a friend, right? This isn't like some new thing that happened, just because this group came about, but it is so needed for a lot of people. We talked a couple times already throughout this book about the sense of, not being alone, right? Whether that's, through your faith or through a support group and what have you. I mean, we experience it all the time, right? We get to have these conversations. So this is really good stuff. In fact, you can see where people, pay big money to go and talk to a therapist who may not have an answer for them, but will sit there and listen. Interesting. So talking things out then is one of the principal therapies used at this place. There's some other ideas we picked up with the class, things you as a housewife can do in your home. Well, thanks, Dale. I'm going to do this and be a happy housewife. So keep a notebook or scrapbook for inspirational reading. Great. Don't dwell too long on the shortcomings of others. Very good, right? So kind of bless and release. This was one of the things that Ben Franklin talked about or attempted to work into his life, is to not be too, troubled over the foibles of others and stuff like this. 3, get interested in your neighbors. Go be social, John, and you'll be a happier housewife. Thank you. Make up a schedule for tomorrow's work before you go to bed tonight. So there's decisiveness and compartmentalization and prioritization. Beautiful. Finally, avoid tension and fatigue. Relax. We already talked about that. You as a housewife, Bob, have got to relax. Lie on the floor. Follow these tips. All right. So we got talk therapy, housewives, and and all that. Who's got some thoughts on this one? And by the way, when housewives get together, that doesn't necessarily mean they're being therapeutic. A lot of times, it's just kibitzing about, well, this sucks. Oh yeah, well, that sucks. Everything sucks. That's not therapy. Any thoughts on this one, you housewives?
Are there any housewives anymore?
I don't know. These days, you got 2 people working 2 jobs each, and I mean, not here in our house, but yeah, we both work. All right, we both run businesses. That's interesting. Change the times, Bob. Used to be a time when he goes to work and she takes care of the kids, which is work. I mean, let's not invalidate or discount that. I mean, that's huge. Anyway, how times have changed, but I think the pendulum swings both ways. Let's see what else Mr. Carnegie has for, oh, Lindsay, please.
I was gonna say, what hat are you wearing?
Mm-hmm.
You know, you can kind of have to do everything. You know, I'm not saying like just me, but shared responsibility,
Mm-hmm.
as teamwork kind of thing.
Right.
So,
What was that movie? Mr. Mom? Was that Michael Keaton? I
yes.
believe? Where
Yes.
they changed roles, right? And it was total chaos. Comedy, of course, but you know, we laugh at that, which you know, has reality in it. You know, if it was unrelatable, then it wouldn't be funny. All right. So 26, 4 good working habits that will help prevent fatigue and worry. Number 1, clear your desk of all papers except those relating to immediate problem at hand. I'm going to add something to that. Clear your computer desktop. Sometimes people have looked at my computer and be like, where's all your stuff on your desktop? And I'm like, it's not, it's empty. I don't want to see like 10 million icons all over the place, all this incomplete stuff, right? So same thing with our desk, our environment, right? You put in order. What does it say here? Order is heaven's first law. I love me some order. Okay, because if I got all this stuff screaming at me, then it's kind of, I mean, that's also the value of meditation, right? So you can kind of get like a blank canvas. I can't draw anything on this canvas. It's all marked up with crap. I need a blank canvas. So that's how I like my desk and my computer to look. Fresh. Interesting. The constant reminder of a million things to do and no time to do them. Yep, that'll add to your fatigue and worry. What was the second? Oh, wait, before we get to the second one. Where do you keep your unfinished business? Finished, said Sadler. And where do you keep your unanswered mail? Answered, Sadler told him. My rule is to never lay down a letter until I have answered it. I dictate the reply to my secretary at once. So this is a concept or a policy called touch it once. Touch it once. If it's in your hand, if you clicked on it, right, take it to completion. All successful actions are completed actions. So there's a little reminder. Number 2, do things in the order of their importance. Right. And again, taking each one to a done gives us little wins throughout the day. And then we're not multitasking. These 2 priceless abilities are, he was talking here about almost impossible to find in people, right? This is the guy who's the nationwide city service company. All right, anyway, these 2 priceless abilities are, first, the ability to think. Second, the ability to do things in their order of importance. So this makes you valuable to yourself, and in this case, to an employer, to your customers. Ability to think, ability to do things in the order of importance. And I don't claim to be perfect with either of these. Number 3, when you face a problem, solve it then and there. Again, touch it once. If you have the facts necessary to make a decision, don't keep putting off decisions. What have we've heard this a million times, right? Napoleon Hill and everybody else. Successful people form the habit of reaching decisions promptly. And number 4, learn to organize, deputize, and supervise. So delegation, any businessman dragging himself to a premature grave because he's never learned to delegate responsibility to others, insists on doing everything himself. That used to be me. So we got four rules on the table here, or 4 habits. Delegation, basically, make decisions promptly, prioritize, and organize. Who's got thoughts on that?
This is gold. And it's so commonsensical that it's a wonder that you don't see it in more books. The challenge, though, for our contemporary period of time is that unlike Carnegie's era, now Carnegie's wrote in the era when really the telephone was really the only thing that really killed your momentum. Okay, you could be given a stack of work to do, and as you're plowing through it, the telephone would ring, and that, you know, the telephone call may have been important, it may have needed immediate attention, may not have needed immediate attention. You had to insert it somehow into your workflow. But now we have, not in addition to the telephone, we have emails, we have texts, we have all kinds of other instant communications. Nevertheless, the principles are still the same. It is good, I found, really to set a time of the day when you are absolutely, utterly going to knock off. 5:15, 5:30, 5 o'clock earlier if necessary, but you're just saying, say, at this point, I'm stopping what I'm doing, wherever I am, unless, this has absolutely to be done and in the hands of my client or my supervisor. If it has to be done today, I'm going to get it done today, no matter how long it takes. But if it's something that, you don't need to get out, it's good to have something on your desk as a starter for the next day. Now, back in the days when I was in high school, I don't know how high schools operate anymore. You used to have a period called homeroom right at the beginning of the day. You reported to your homeroom, and there the homeroom moderator took the attendance and sent it to the school office. There were also announcements for things that were going on during the day or during the week to remind you of things. And it was that transition, that bridge that took you from the outside world to the world of school.
Mm-hmm.
As we grow older and we go into professions and businesses, we don't have homeroom, so we have to make our own homeroom.
Mm-hmm.
And therefore, I found it a really great thing. As I said earlier, set a time when you're absolutely going to stop. And then that way you have something, that's your first period the next day. Okay, it's not like you have to report to algebra or Spanish or world history. Okay, you know what the topic is. You have to make the topic for yourself. I mean, it's just as dangerous to sit down at the beginning of the day with nothing on your desk, no task. That's a momentum killer as much as anything else.
Oh, yeah. Totally, Bob. You bring up such great points, right? Because starting our day with no task, that's called indecision. That's indecision. That's what that is. That's the time killer. And you were mentioning the telephone as being that which could dilute our efforts or distract us. I was also thinking of the open door, right? Why do people have gatekeepers? Right? My door is closed. You get past the gatekeeper to get to me if it's an emergency, right? So now we have metaphorically so many open doors. So we've got to be conscious of that. So just now, and it was just my wife texting me some stuff that I was asking her for, but just now I went on Do Not Disturb. I forgot to put it on Do Not Disturb before we went into our session today. But typically I'm on Do Not Disturb anytime I'm doing, something important. So, because I don't know how many notifications have come in just in the time that we've been talking. So we got to watch out for those open doors, metaphorically speaking. That's pretty huge, guys. Wow, thank you, Bob. I do know organizations that have staff muster, not mustard. Okay, muster. So that's how the shift starts, right? Here's staff muster, the briefing of, you could picture like. The show that I was just mentioning before we went live, Daisy, the cops show, the rookie it's called. And there's sequences in the show where, all right, it's the start of the shift, and here come all the the officers into the room for muster, right? And here's what we got going on today. This guy did a carjacking, and you, Smith, you're on with the other guy. You're going to be looking up that case, right? So there's the briefing. Yeah. I guess we could, even if we're a solopreneur, we can sort of brief ourselves. So good stuff. Thank you, Bob, and everyone. Next chapter. Here it is. How to banish the boredom that produces fatigue, worry, and resentment. Oh, this is good. So here's Alice. She's a stenographer. How's that sound for excitement? She came home one night utterly exhausted. She acted fatigued. She was fatigued. And then her phone rang. It was the boyfriend. An invitation to dance. Her eyes sparkled. Her spirits soared. She rushed upstairs. Okay, so what's the story here? She was exhausted because she was bored with her work, perhaps bored with life. But as soon as here's the exhilarating thing, here's some, in this case, outwardly came to her something exciting. But what he's going to argue here in this chapter is that we can induce this for ourselves. All right. So here's a bunch of people going through a boring process, put a group of students through a series of tests, which he knew they would have little interest. The results, students felt tired and sleepy, complained of headaches and eye strain, felt irritable. Another example he gave, climbing the mountains, right? So here are these guys that were trained like commandos, like the peak physical, like cliff jumping, like crazy people, right? And then they're going on this mountain climb with a bunch of old timers. The old timers were the instructors, right? So at the end of the day, right, they were so tired that many of them fell asleep without wanting to eat. But the guides, men who were 2 and 3 times as old as the soldiers, were they tired? Yes, but not exhausted. The guides ate dinner. They stayed up for hours talking about the day's experiences. They were not exhausted because they were interested. So there's a concept of, if you could consider like a degree, and it varies from person to person, but a degree of tolerance for random stuff. Okay, so too much, I'm overwhelmed. Too little, I'm underwhelmed, like these guys were. We're going to walk up the mountain trail, like, we could do this in our sleep. Oh my goodness, this sucks, right? Versus, the neophyte who had never climbed a mountain before, that may have been too steep of a gradient for them. Oh my goodness, I'm overwhelmed, right? So finding the correct amount of whelm, not overwhelmed, not underwhelmed, okay? The correct amount of whelm, that's the trick. And I could totally relate to that, right? Because there were things where I'm sure you've all experienced, where you've already mastered that. Like, why do I got to sit through this? Even my daughter, it's like, I got to take the 5th grade math. I'm already on 7th grade math, right? Not whelming enough. She needs more whelm. This task was so boring that she resolved in self-defense to make it interesting. So here's another stenographer. Apparently this guy is like all over stenographers in this chapter. So she decided in self-defense to make it interesting. How? She had daily contests with herself. So now it's not just about stenography. Now it's a game. We like games, don't we? Games are interesting. She counted the number of forms she filled out each morning and then tried to excel at record in the afternoon. Right? So think of some of the games that we play, like actual games, like a card game or board game or whatever. The data, right? So this is a card. It says 2 of hearts, whatever. That is incredibly mundane. Okay, but because we are looking for the 2, 3, 4, 5, right? Because of the context of the game or what it all means or the meaning that we add to it. Well, now it's terribly interesting. Oh my goodness, you got the 2 of hearts. You see that, right? So significance, that has a big part of this. Stenography, significance. Game, can I outproduce my best? Oh, now there's significance. Good stuff. William James, who he's quoted many times, act as if we were brave and we would be brave. Act as if we were happy and we would be happy, and so on. So we're choosing an identity, a beingness, and we're attempting to be conscious of who's doing it, right? Who's doing the stenography? The person who's engaged in games. And it's a lot more fun to be in games than it is to just be bored with stenography. I've never done stenography, so I don't know too much about it. So here, he's talking about this guy who had to go out. He's an American guy in France. He had to go out or he decided to sell this thing to French people. And so he said every morning before he started out, he looked into the mirror and gave himself a pep talk. Catlin born, you have to do this if you want to eat. So he's giving himself urgency here. Since you have to do it, why not have a good time doing it? Why not imagine every time you ring a doorbell that you are an actor before the floodlights and that there's an audience out there looking at you? After all, what you're doing is just as funny as something on the stage. So why not put a lot of zest and enthusiasm into it? So he's out there with a script written in French. He recites, but doesn't know what the words mean. And he apologizes with his broken French, I'm an American. And the people kind of laugh. And now I don't know how this would go over in modern times, okay? But this guy became the top salesman in the whole friggin' deal. He couldn't even speak the language. I guess he would demonstrate the product, he would get a laugh, but it was show business. Show business. I mentioned before, social media, right? Or it doesn't even have to be that. I mean, just think of anything that holds your interest or that holds another's interest. People like to be entertained. So this guy entertains people, and he was conscious of it. He entertained himself and made it interesting for everybody. And he sold. His stats were friggin' awesome. So can we create a game out of the mundane? Can we do that? Now, this isn't an argument for staying in mundane work and you hate it and it's not your calling, and okay, do something else. We're going to talk about that in the next chapter, I think. Any thoughts on making it interesting for yourself?
I think this chapter and the next chapter were the most important that we had in this week's reading.
Oh.
There was so much in it. You did, John, though, pass over before the Kaltenborn story about Harlan Howard, the guy who studied ice cream. Okay, and he was in that happy position where he essentially turned his hobby into his life's work. So if you do something for a living that really is not a hobby, find a hobby. Alice, the person who came home fatigued from her work as a stenographer, was energized by the prospect of going out dancing. So she had that. She had an outlet. She had an outlet for all of her frustrations. Or you could do what Harlan Howard did, or you could do what Kaltenborn did. All right. I'm old enough to remember the musical Mary Poppins and the song The Spoonful of Sugar. In every job that must be done, there is an element of fun. Just find the fun and snap, the job's a game. And that's the happiest people are the people who are happy at what they do. They don't view the job so much as being a means to an end, but as almost an end in itself. And unfortunately, for some time, the danger was when you treat your calling that way, you become victim to tunnel vision. And you have no outlet. You actually have, and I've known people like that. I've known people who were so focused on, this quarter's numbers compared with last quarter's numbers and last year's numbers and how we can excel and improve, that they're like Captain Ahab. They were just absolutely fixated on it. Not very pleasant people to be around.
Right. Good observations. Thank you, Bob. The next chapter, by the way, is about insomnia. So let's just take a quick look at that. I can't relate, but apparently a lot of people can. I sleep really good. How to keep from worrying about insomnia. So take advantage of his wakefulness. This is what this guy would do. Sam, he took advantage of his wakefulness. Instead of tossing and turning and worrying himself into a breakdown, he would get up and study. He became this tremendous legal authority, and he earned, the highest pay of any lawyer at that time was $1 million on a case, right? So worrying about insomnia will hurt you far more than insomnia. So we're talking now about attachment to the idea of it, getting all, balled up on that, rather than just, that nature knows how much sleep I need. Apparently I can maybe have an advantage here and, get more done than my colleagues or my competitors. Okay, now he does give a couple tips in here, and I'll just mention them, and maybe this is why I sleep well. The first requisite for a good night's sleep is a feeling of security. So if you feel like you're in danger, which I've experienced at times in my life, right? Then how well do you sleep? So this is an indicator right here. Security. Are you secure in your space? Okay. Or are you up worrying about, stuff where being up and worrying about it isn't going to solve the problem, right? So that would be a feeling of insecurity. Further, it says, one of the best cures for insomnia is making yourself physically tired by gardening, swimming, tennis, golf, skiing, or just playing physically exhausting work. Lindsay and I like to go out and do yard work. And so especially with the sedentary nature of our professional work, right? So here I am looking at a computer screen all day. I gotta go exercise, right? In fact, I start every day with exercise. So at least I got that in, because I know once I get busy with my sedentary work, I'm going to stop now and go to the gym. It's like noon already. No, you got to do it early, at least for me. I know some people, they end their day with that kind of stuff. Oh, okay, well, whatever works for you. All right. So, but the point is to get the body moving. You have a body, use it or lose it, as the saying goes. This is an interesting one. He talked a lot about suicide in here. Like people wanted to kill themselves because they couldn't get a good night's sleep or something, which I thought was fascinating. But again, I can't relate too much to insomnia. I don't really know what that's about. I guess I'll be grateful for that. But this woman got a suggestion. She said, well, if you're going to commit suicide anyway, you might as well at least do it in a heroic fashion. Run around the block until you drop dead. He tried it. Not once, but several times, and each time felt better in his mind, if not in his muscles. Later, he joined an athletic club and began to compete in competitive sports. Soon he was feeling so good, he wanted to live forever. Unfair advantage, guys. Exercise. And that's the end of part 7. Do we have any insomniacs with us tonight? No insomniacs? No? Okay. Lindsay.
I've been before, but no, not anymore.
Okay.
And it is, but I would get up and get stuff done. But then, like what we're doing, you can't get up and call people at 3 a.m. unless they're like in Australia. I mean, so
Right.
so, but I did have a really clean house.
Clean house. Okay. Could you do things that didn't require talking, like study, or
Oh,
a
absolutely.
lawyer guy? He studied his legal books,
Yeah. But yeah, I would do that. But when is a good time to exercise? Anytime,
Okay.
honestly. So I don't go to the gym per se, but I don't really need to.
Well, you run around the block until you drop dead, right?
There you go.
That's it.
That's right. Traffic's really bad, just run around the house, or where I live, you get lost in the woods. I mean, figure something out.
Right.
You will wear yourself out eventually.
Wasn't that brilliant advice though? Like, go kill yourself. Run until you drop dead. And next thing you know, he's out there, fresh air, trees, birds. Hey, you know what? This ain't so bad. I think I'll stick around. Oh, all right.
Cool how that works.
Oh my goodness. All right, guys. Final chapter in this next section, the only chapter in this next section. How to find the kind of work in which you may be happy and successful. Now, he talks about this as a major decision in your life, right next to who you're going to have, bear and raise your children with you, right? So 2 tremendous decisions. First, how are you going to make a living? Second, whom are you going to select to be the father or mother of your children? All right. So I'm thinking back in the day when this was written, 1948, that people had a profession and kept that profession like for a long, long time, maybe for their whole life. Before this book was written, let's go back another 100 or 200 years, right? Here's the apprentice, and they learn to do the trade of the family, and that was their craft, right? I'm the carpenter, I'm the plumber, I'm the printer. Well, in fact, speaking of Ben Franklin, he was an apprentice under his older brother in Boston for plumbing, right? If I have my history straight. And he was like, screw plumbing. I'm going to Philadelphia and I'm going to start a printing press. All right. But do we all have like one thing that we've done our whole lives? No, I used to be a diesel mechanic. I was in the music business, right? I was in corporate sales. I don't do any of those things right now. So he talked here again about Edison. It wasn't toil to him. So Edison liked inventing stuff. I never did a day's work in my life. It was all fun. No wonder he succeeded. Charles Schwab said almost the same thing. A man can succeed at almost anything for which he has unlimited enthusiasm. So choose well. I don't see it as something that's unrevocable, right? You could change. I just launched a software company. I've never done that before in my life. And yet here I am. So American Home Products Company, here's the guy, he says, the greatest tragedy I know of is that so many young people never discover what they really want to do. Now, this, I think, very, very, very much applies in all times, including especially modern times. I think no one else is so much to be pitied as the person who gets nothing at all out of his work but his pay. Now, we've seen, I have, people who, and we could say millennial or younger generation kind of stuff, here they are, they got, 4 years of college and $150,000, bill. So they start their adult life basically in six figures worth of debt and no marketable skills and no direction. Do you have something I can do? Here it is, right here. I have a BA degree from Dartmouth or an MA from Cornell. Have you some kind of work I can do for your firm? What the hell kind of question is that? Now, as the sales guy, right, I can think, no, you show up and you say, here's what I can do for your organization. I've studied and I can see the outpoints and I can put them in, right? I can accelerate, I can automate, I can do things that nobody else can do, right? So that's how you pitch a company or a customer on your services. Aimless. This is aimless. Pathetic, as the woman said. Blessed is the man who has found his work. Let him ask no other blessedness. Wow. Who said that? Thomas Carlyle. So purpose in life. That's a very powerful thing. Now, can that take different shapes? Yes. Yes. And he does get to this later in the chapter, right? Is that we have different combinations of talents so we can apply them in different ways. But where in your community can you get vocational tests and vocational advice? So he's talking now about seeking guidance in the form of like aptitude tests and things like that. He also gives some warnings about that. Such advice can only take the form of suggestion. So this isn't the gospel according to the survey or according to the counselor, all right? You have to make the decisions. You have to make the decisions. Remember that these counselors are far from infallible. But this is also another thing to keep in mind is where a man had no interest, where he felt he was misplaced, where he thought he was not appreciated. We heard this in an earlier chapter. There's a feeling of not being valid, not being appreciated, of a low sense of worth, where he believed his talents were being misused. Invariably, we found a potential, if not an actual psychiatric casualty. This really weighs on a person. Right. And I think this can also go in the direction of like relationships. Like here's the spouse who feels unwanted. And I don't need to get too much into the psyche of it, but you get the idea of being ignored or neglected or underappreciated. Not fun for anybody. So here's some suggestions on choosing your work. Read and study the following 5 suggestions. About selecting a vocational guidance counselor. I don't know if any of you have ever done this. Don't go to anyone who tells you he's got a magic system. Nope. Don't go to anyone who tells you he can give you a test that will indicate what occupation you should choose. Nope. He talked in earlier in this chapter about a girl who had a great vocabulary. So she was told you should go be an author. Well, having a great vocabulary doesn't mean you've got ideas for books. I mean, 2 totally different things. All right, seek a vocational counselor who has an adequate library of information. Right, they need data. Thorough vocational guidance service generally requires more than one interview. Okay, fine. Never accept vocational guidance by mail. Oh my goodness. And remember this morning, Lindsay, I think you were with us live. We were talking about conformity and group agreement for what it's worth, which isn't much. But in one school, 2/3 of the boys confined their choices to 5 occupations, 5 out of 20,000. And 4/5 of the girls did the same. Conformity. Pack animals. Group think. Stay out of activities where the chances are only 1 out of 10, only 1 out of 10 of your being able to make a living. Okay. I wonder about that. All right. If you're above average and you know it, or if you're just passionate beyond all reasonableness, well, I'd say go for it. All right. So I kind of paused on that one a little bit. Chances, like this is a chance thing, like we're going to roll the dice. No, I don't think so. Anyway, that's what he said. For what it's worth, spend weeks, even months if necessary, finding out all you can about the occupation. Yeah, dig in, get some data. Data's good. Data's good for decision making. And 5, get over the mistaken beliefs that you are fitted only for a single occupation. Thank you. Finally, okay, so this isn't an irrevocable life thing that you can never change your mind. All right, we change our minds all the time. And if it's a decision that needs to be made, you think well on it, you decide, and then you don't want to be flip-flopping. Okay. But at the same time, if you've erred, you get to amend errors. Right. I think that's the end of that chapter. It is. All right. Bob, I think this is the one you were saying is a very important chapter. So I want to bring you out here. I know we're already 4 minutes over.
Actually, my book didn't have this chapter. So
Oh, it was the insomnia chapter that you were all into? Okay.
the last chapter was the insomnia chapter in my book.
You
So
don't have this chapter? Like it's missing?
no, I have the paperback. I told you last week that I got this years ago, had never opened it, and I thought it'd fit in well with the book study. So I have no idea why that chapter, and it looks to me like the next section is missing from this edition too.
Well, this was section 8, which is 1 chapter only.
So I don't have section 8 or section 9.
What are we going to do, Bob?
I guess I'll have to get the Kindle.
Get the Kindle. Go spend $3, man.
Then I guess I can't comment. So Daisy, Lindsay, the floor is yours.
This is such an important chapter that they didn't even include it in your book. That's great. You can just get it through the ethers, just by hearing me talk. Daisy, Lindsay, was this in your book? Yeah. Okay.
I have the Kindle version.
Okay.
And I was just going to comment on the number 3, stay out of activities where the chances are only 1 out of 10 of your being able to make a living. Yeah, I didn't agree with that. And case in point, my husband, Dale, you know him. He's in the film industry. He's a director. As an independent director. So, he's not financed by any production studio or anything like that. And he's basically busting his ass over projects, trying to find projects, trying to create stories, anything, trying to hook up with writers who have ideas. And the thing is that he just got off of some projects. So he had like multiple projects, and now he's coming down from them. And now he's kind of like at that, oh gosh, what am I going to do? And he has to be constantly creating. That's just him. But in this industry, oh my gosh, the chances are so slim. But he continues to be in this profession. He continues to be, and he just wants to create. He just wants to tell the story. And hopefully one day, one of his stories stick, so I can't fault him for that.
Okay. Well, So I think what we're talking about here is allowing ourselves to reach beyond what statistically might be reasonable. So I think that's laudable. That's good. I think the line we don't want to cross is into irresponsible, right? So
Right.
I'm going to go be a movie star. So let me throw caution to the wind and move to LA and then all right. So how many, look, every waiter, I lived in LA for 2 years. Every waiter I ever met in every restaurant was also an actor. Like all of them. Okay, so what's that about? And it's probably not everyone. But this is somebody going after their dream.
Mhm.
I don't know that industry. I know the music business, and and I
It's
know it
that's
enough
not
to not be
easy.
in it. Right. I know.
That's even tougher.
Right. I know it enough to not be in it. So like my friend and mentor said to me, I like the music business better when I was a fan. I was like, oh, okay. So there's a disparity, or there's a lack of correlation between talent and notoriety. And I don't know who you got to know, right, to be a successful director. I mean, does he do good directing? I don't know anything about it. Okay, but like, how do you get the big production house to say, yeah, here's $50 million, do it, right?
That's what the trick is. I mean, he's aligned himself with a producer that is fairly connected, but it's just, it's like, what's going to stick? What is it that's going to resonate with people, right? Like a couple of years ago, it was all about the handheld reality kind of thing, right? The type of video, I forgot what that term is that oh gosh, it's like the point of view of the person
Point of
holding
view.
yeah. Oh yeah, that was just crazy. I mean, he made a film with that. But yeah, I mean, there's just so many things. And each project just gets him that much closer with producing better work and working with better better writers, better actors, whatever. And I know it's just that process, and it's just really just hopefully a matter of time that that someone does see it. So in fact, a couple ones are actually being seen by some people, from I think Paramount or something. So fingers crossed.
Okay. Now,
Yeah.
at the same time, is he able to? You don't need to answer this, as personal, okay? But let's say I was pursuing my dream in the music business. Would I also be waiting tables, keep feeding my daughter, right? So there's the responsibility line that we don't
Yep.
want to just throw caution to the wind. So
Nope, he does that. He does some editing gigs, some stuff that he'll do for people if someone wants help shooting a short film or whatever, he'll do that just so that get a couple bucks. So he does that too. That's not off the table. So
got it.
yeah.
Well, hats off to him, and yeah, and I hope it's not all up to chance, right? As Dale Carnegie was talking about, the chances are 1 out of 10. Chance? No. Anyway, thank you guys for being here with us on this coming towards the end. Bob's going to have to go get another copy of the book because he got the abridged for the modern American guy who doesn't want to read too much. So now Bob gets to go buy the full version. Anyway, love you guys. Make it a great day. All right. We'll see you real soon. Have a good night.